Recording in progress.
You can just say okay to the recording.
Okay, that's all that is. Bill, towards.
So we're right 2 o'clock on the clock.
3 o'clock.
Exactly on time.
Then, Sama Shelangebu Nong, then that's a mesoso. That's opposite. That's comme ça.
So I hope you had a pleasurable and useful break. Useful in the sense that you could rest.
So, to this, then, Kesamambo machine, Tambo Dagi Shiva Nangsing, B. Chabrola Doginda, Chabrola. Ma padam pa B, comment ça s'appelle? Quelle passe? Chabdo, page 2A. Page 2A.
Okay, so let's not waste time on gossiping about how well we rested, and let's start the practice. So we start the practice with the sadhana itself, the practice itself, the main practice, page 2B. So we skip the preliminary preparations.
Then, page 6 nangla, yigi nangla, kande, yena yang, mena yang, sosogi samlotaya di, sosogi, then sosogi nyamyong, sosogi kande chikha gotugidu, then samdana digreba. To Dorduna, Chabro Dembekala, Takwa Rishi, Sanje, Chodan Gindungi, and this Shen Dila, Chabson Dogo Yore, Chabro Dogo, Tenda de Hagorva, Tene Korala, Jigne, Korala, Yandu, Kene, Tene Dila, Be Jiksen, Nyob, the Takale Hagodu Samne, the Korali Targus, Tene Yang Getchishude. Orang cikut harna tak kaya tenda menda, tene semjen thamche samlata chapter kabla tirare.
So, if everyone has arrived, but nevertheless, this page 2A is the page of refuge, and we have already provided some reminders and teachings about the refuge this morning. There are 4 lines, 4 verses, and the thing is that this is a spiritual practice, so it happens within our mind. It's not about the words in the text. Whatever the text of refuge, there is always, any text always starts, and any practice starts with the refuge, as we said this morning. And whatever is mentioned or whatever is not mentioned, maybe there is a reference to something or some reference to something that is not there, is not the point. The point is not about the words that are mentioned, but the taking refuge that we implement within our own mind. So when the time comes to take refuge in a practice, the key thing is to take refuge within our own mind. And the proper way to do that is always to start from disgust, from samsara, a sense that samsara, this cycle of existence, endless circle, vicious circle of suffering, it's a sense of fear, maybe we could say of exhaustion. This is exhausting. We don't want it anymore. We don't want this suffering anymore. We are afraid of going through that again, especially afraid of the biggest suffering. So traditionally it is about, it's said about terror. This is terrifying. The kinds of suffering we can go through in samsara are really terrible. But we could say more generally is being tired of it, being tired of being born again and going through this samsaric existence again. And with that really sense of turning away from samsara and going for enlightenment, we do this movement, inner movement of taking refuge. And that's the key thing, it's not the words.
Tene sama hao do Manzuki Sonam Sadi Ni do Sonam Sala Tene Sonam Chatungi Nyamnen Chigdang Tarba Chatungi Nyamnen Ni Yongorva Chabru Simji Meba Jene Tene Sonam Gaze Sanayandi Tene Sonam Sane Midang Hagi Dewa Toya Tsamreva 다 냠낸 치중 간데 제나딜라 잡루도 셈제 제나 테네 타르바차tun스야 상장추 토벨라 도거 디체버 인장 냠낸 자치중 간데 제나 대고친 불루라 당보 군주선나 잡선로야 니바 셈제 탐제라 잡닝지 고메디 다냠보 도고래 디도나 테네 대고친 냠낸라 도고여봐
And it's also about the positive attitude of our mind that we develop, what we call merit, something that is positive, constructive, beneficial. And what we call merit, there are two types of merit. There are merits that just increase our positivity, and there are the merits that lead us to enlightenment. And these are not the same. For any positive activity, let's say, taking a spiritual text and trying to do the practice, if we want that this positive, constructive, very nice activity is supposed to be really beautiful, for that to be an actual path of enlightenment, it has to be done in a way that is not just geared towards accumulating positive energy, but it's geared toward liberation from samsara, from their ordinary existence. So for that, for the merit to be a merit that leads to enlightenment, whether it's a big thing or a small thing, the target is different. So even if it's a small thing, let's make it in a way that it's directed towards enlightenment for all sentient beings. And for that, we have to really have this mind which is turned towards enlightenment, which we call taking refuge away from samsara, going towards enlightenment with the mind of enlightenment, bodhicitta, which means with the thought of all sentient beings. And with that, we have a very authentic, positive practice that leads towards enlightenment, Buddhahood.
Then dirida lela marwa te semnang tenju chibore cha simbu go marwa kunju sanjes ten sam jen ti dirada te lagwa te majar tene kunju semnang ten sam je lulu jene tene yangjar tsarni pögela tsarchi inji kela ina chamrodi.
And because it's happening within ourselves and it's just a movement of the mind, it's not so complicated, actually. It's not something complicated. Just need to bring to our mind the presence of this state of enlightenment, the Buddhas, and direct our intention and our energy towards it, joining hands. And then we say, I take refuge, I go for this, this is my path, and whatever the words say, but just this movement. So it's actually quite simple. So we will do it together. We will use this text as a support, as a prop, and we do it twice in Tibetan and once in English, together.
Barhadoi Chasoi Je Konjo Sunge Tsasamoi Janzedai Nahawaya Taye Jerwai Sejalai Dasoya Kaijab Drovaya Malugud Desoya Janjo Barado Chazoje.
In Amitabha, truly is the three jewels, the three roots, and the notion of masters surrounded by the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. I, and as many beings as space can hold, all without exception, take refuge from today until enlightenment.
Da manzo chapter di tekpa chimbu chapter injang semjen thamje samlo tang yorwa. Tene da nyamle nipa di chapter do nyambo tene semje gi nyamle le yorwa. Te pecha de la shi ritu kore pama tinchen nam seme nyingje dawa kulang ne dungal sebe solar la me changchu tabar semje do. Tiyang pecha nangla kande yena mena yang susu nyamlen de la tene chapsun dosane tene tekwa chimbu gi nangba chi rego di tene tekwa chimbu la zo chiwa di semjen la jam yingji kumya dirwa rangde yu pangne semjen di ke chimbu tse dirwa di labdi tekwa chimbu di kande si jurguri si di pecha nangla judre menga dungi tone tekwa chimbu gi dilan jurgu yorwa di labdi tangbu di semjen tamje rangi pama imba samlo mangbo dane sheko yore pama len chik ma imba len mangbo rangi pama imba ngo sheko chik niba di drin drenba se di semjen tamje rangi tse digi pama nangsing konzo nganzo pama jebe kala nganzo la ka drin chenpo re dewa sam drin dren 다 딘 젬바섬 되기민도와 딘 소고도 되네 딘렌 잘고도 되네다 파마카 딘 쳔보디스 년송숨데 바케네 동알만부 요레 간다 녀로바 간다스 제고레 세디 되네 로바디 되네 바 건주숨 세와답네 되네 디제나마도 용고요 말 강달 엄마라 소소 장추 톱네 파마심제나 로바제 투고요레 세거 테네 시바디 하나 딘간데 소고레 세디 semjen thamjala jamba gogoyore semjen thamjala ningje gogoyore semjen thamjala laksam namda tene laksam namda sede ngokok meba transparency to dinashi gogoyore dila ju dukrendo tene debu chik sedi jangchuk sem sedi tene ju dula tene semjen thamji jangchuk tobarsho sedi jangchuk sem sedi juduk mengachi dun de la jude menga dun sata da sama sungu do ade o tene chi samla tane tene ngajo te wachi mo semji ko do sere
So we have taken refuge, so we are now embarking on a path that leads us to be liberated from samsara, and we have done that for all sentient beings. But this thought of all sentient beings and really opening our practice to make it a universal practice as fast as the space, we have to develop that attitude and that thought, that state of mind. The mind of enlightenment is a universal mind, as pervasive as space. And for that, we have 4 verses, the next verses. So, as it's said in italic, second line of page 2a, recite the 4 immeasurables and generate the aspirational, practical, and ultimate mind of bodhicitta, the mind of Enlightenment, which is bodhicitta. So these 4 verses are a support for us to train, to bring to our mind this mind of enlightenment, and to improve and develop and train our mind and refine our mind in that thought that includes all sentient beings, limitless as space. And this is immeasurable. That's why there is a reference to 4 immeasurables, because sentient beings are immeasurable. And the way to do that, there are different techniques, but one is called the 7 steps. 7 steps to bring in our practice of a mind of enlightenment that includes all sentient beings. The first step is to consider beings as being our parents from past lives. So each and every sentient being, and beings are limitless as the sky, they are immeasurable. Each of them has been our father or our mother, and not only once, but because we had countless lives before now, they have been also our parents. We cannot measure the number of times they have been our parents. That's the first thing, is to contemplate and bring to mind the closeness of us and others. The second step is to contemplate what this implies in terms of the kindness of others to us, towards us. Contemplate what our mother, in particular, mother, father, but in particular mother, who carried us in her womb, and all the hardships she went through to bring us to life and protect us so that we could grow up, and so on and so forth, and contemplate the incredible kindness of the mothers. And mothers are all sentient beings. The third step is to consider that the sentient beings, so my mother, all sentient beings who are my mother, who have been my mother's countless of time, have been so kind, and yet now they are suffering. Most of them are in the lower realms. Many of them are in the hell realms, in a condition of existence that are extremely painful, and have a sense of repaying the kindness. What can I do for someone who has been so kind to me, who made my life possible and supported me for being alive? So there is a step of wanting to repay the kindness, and a step of realizing that sentient beings are going through terrible pain. They are stuck in samsara, and they're going through all kinds of suffering, especially the majority of them in the lower realms. And then from there, we develop a thought of compassion. So in Buddhist terminology, compassion means wanting someone not to suffer, and doing whatever we can to prevent others not to suffer. So we generate a very intense and very warm compassion. All sentient beings whose kindness towards us has been incredible, life after life, many lives, are now suffering. And I want to help them to repay the kindness which cannot be repaid. When someone gives you life, how can you repay that? And they are going through suffering. How can I help alleviate their suffering? And next step, how can I bring them happiness, or ensure they are happy and they have the cause of happiness? And that we reach to the stage where we realize that the only way to help someone who's in samsara, who's been so kind to us and now is suffering so much, is for that person to be liberated from samsara. So we want sentient beings to be liberated. And how can sentient beings be liberated? And we had really an urge, it's really profound, it's very intense, wish that they are liberated and that they are happy and blissful. The only way is that I must myself go on that path and be enlightened and help all sentient beings to be enlightened. And that is the mind of enlightenment. And this is not just a vague idea, because we ground it into an actual contemplation of very practical experiences of life that we have, of motherhood and connection with others and all sentient beings, and the kindness. So there's an entire process of contemplation, which here is just reminded. It's not the we don't have it's just a reminder of this process that we implement in our mind with these 4 verses.
Teneda semjedi tsar sum dengre didi lakwa tema jawme lakwa mahapumo la shana mahashana digitus.
When we recite verses that support our inner process of developing the mind of bodhicitta, we don't need to join hands. We put them back down on our knees, for instance, or in the lap, and then we go through the process and the recitation. So we recite this 3 times, again twice in Tibetan, once in English.
Pena chabdola du jedi konjo tengo yerwa semjela ma du jedi ma doa rutu ke semjen sanotango tere.
Also, when we take refuge, we join hands and we bring our mind upwards towards the object, the place of refuge, which we visualize in the space above ourselves. But when we contemplate and generate and develop the mind of enlightenment, our mind is turned towards all sentient beings, so they are not just up there, they're everywhere, and they're down also, so therefore we can have this as a way to remember. Bring down your hands and think of sentient beings. The 6 classes of beings of samsara, my very kind fathers and mothers, feeling an unbearable compassion, I resolve to liberate them definitely from samsara's ocean of suffering, so that they obtain unsurpassable awakening.
Tene da chabro semje chane da sumbadi gechimbarwa sumbadi yela dimba sengle bindewa da nganzu chödang jikdengi lekha khar yina yang juji gorwa judi sonamge chorwa sonamge chok mena jikdengi yongyo mare tseringbo nena sambe ba longche shimodu sonam mena yongyo mare dewe changi koroli tarya sanje gobang tobya lata sonam dene chachi mushibuchi kogu yores. Tenzang senam ki chok mangbo chigda ela dimba nan duyorwa. Owa tenzang da nyamende la sumba ela dimba ki nyamende libi yore. Tene ela dimba ki nyamende la Tene dangbo changma hagorwa chaksewe yinla, chebo pewe yinla, dikpa shakwe yinla, jesu yirangwe yinla, chokor korwa kurwe yinla, nyangele midawa yinla, ngowe yinla, di nyamlin sumdila, nyamlin dundila yinla dimba segidawa.
I see. Let's see. So the next practice is called the seven branch prayer, which is a practice of accumulation of so-called merit, positive energy. And merit, or this positive energy, is what makes anything positive possible. Like in our life, if we can enjoy to some extent a good health, a working body, and maybe some possession or some comfort, a house, food, medicine, friends, whatever, money, car, all this is a supportive, this support to our existence comes from our own positive activities in past life, which we call merit, and which allows us now to benefit from some positivity in our life, some comfort in our life. Nothing is possible without merit. So enlightenment as well is not possible without merit. We have discussed this at length so far. So this seven branch prayer has different branches that all contribute to the accumulation of merit, and they are the best ways to accumulate merit. The first one is the prostration, the branch of prostration, the activity of prostration. And then there is the branch of offering, then the branch of compassion, then the branch of rejoicing, the branch of requesting the will of Dharma to be turned, seeking and asking for spiritual teachings, and requesting enlightened ones to be living in this world with us and not to depart. And the final branch, the seventh one, is the dedication for enlightenment.
Tene yela dimba ki nyembo trabu labna karjene chatse kogore sena ngaran sola nyemongpa ngajil singe yor changba la ngala ne ngaje chimbe yor chiran sola ngaje yena me na ho masong kangtar ngaje ki nyembo di chatse ko yor ba ngaje sa sha ji dikpa di ta go yor ba tin sa ngajel ki nyembo di chatse yela tene ngaran so changba la serna yor ba ngala sena yore, tene charang sola sena yone menago maso. Tene sena ki, nganzo ki sena ki sasha jogi, dikpa ki, daya ki tabla, nyembo di choba pyo yela, segoro. Tene ngaranzo sangmala timuk yorba, marikpa yorba. Tene timuk di yona kari yose di, timuk yona, tene nganzo timuki, tene timuki tripne, timuk la tene, tuisha shedang timuk ngajal kegi yore, segoro. Timuk di meba tango yorba. Timuki nyembo di la dikpa shakenya la, segoro. Tene ngarang sola chakdo yorba. Chakdo to pe chimbo yorba, sangma la ngala yore, charang zo sangma chakdo chimbo yorba. Tene chakdo ki dikpa chimbo yore, digi meba soya tabla nyembo di jesu yirang sede komgo yore. Tene yang ngansoki chubangi le chegi yorba. Tene dikpa pangi watu, tene kanzam, tene da tiksong da ichi masong samne chu sangjegi chu dusu pangcha nyanga yorba. Tene chubangi nyembo la chuju kolo koro kuyen las. Tene ngaranso lokta ni sangmala yore. Tene lokta dikpa shishu lokta rise, le jimre la lokpartawa disurwa. Tene lama la chu la lokpartawa. Di lokta la dikpa chimbo yisa, lokta di mewa sawa ki nyembo di kunyangale mele wa sohanta baas. Tene dukshu di tesum rewa, kati ina tesum kene. Japsun ro sem che na 야고들의 간대시 용거나 삼바지 용거로 태숨이다. 태숨 매버치고로. 태숨 기념부디 무웨인라 스테르다 연라 뒷발라. 배냠는 야고래도 대다 선음게 소사야 디바다 돔접셔디 연라 뒷바 세디거.
So these seven branches are means to accumulate merit because they are very beautiful, positive practices. But not only that, they are also antidotes. They are the remedy or the counter agent to attitudes and behavior we have that are really counterproductive in terms of spirituality and our own spiritual development. So we use this seven branch also as an antidote. So the first one, the prostration, paying homage to the enlightened ones, is the antidote to our proud, because we are all very proud. I am very proud, and I guess you are. Well, you check for yourself whether you're proud or not proud. But I can say I am, and when we are proud, we actually perform negative activities. So we need an antidote to that. And the antidote to that is prostration, humbling oneself in front of what is sublime. The second one is an antidote that is offering is the antidote of misery, the fact of not giving and keeping for oneself. So I have it. I keep many things for myself, and whether you do or not, please check for yourself. But there is an antidote to that, and the antidote is to give, to offer and give away what we like, what is precious and beautiful. The third one, the confession, is the antidote to our ignorance and our stupidity, both ignorance and stupidity, which we have. I have it. So whether you have it or not, I don't know, but you must know, and you need to check, which is the source of, from our stupidity and ignorance, we fall into the trap of pride and miserliness and all sorts of negative states, and we act upon these states, and so we accumulate a lot of negative karma, negativities, and veils and obscurations. So the antidote is to confess, which means to acknowledge how negative, what we do, to check introspectively and confess. Then the fourth one is the antidote to jealousy. I am very jealous, and you probably are. I cannot imagine you're not, but we usually don't realize we are when we are. And on the basis of jealousy, we say and do nonsense, and therefore there is an antidote, which is to rejoice rejoice in the success and qualities of others. And the fifth one is the tendency for practitioners to give up spiritual practice and the beneficial positive activities of body, speech, and mind, because we think, okay, I've done a lot already, I've done enough, I'm very virtuous, I'm full of merit, so I don't need really to make so much effort now, I can rest. And after all, I don't see the results, so it's not so vital, it's not so crucial, and we abandon, and we even may reject, or we abandon, we give up the Dharma, or we neglect our spiritual development. And the antidote to that is to have enlightened masters with us. So we request and we ask and we beg them to be there with us, which is the request here is not to pass into nirvana and to remain constantly in this world. And then we have the what is considered the worst in terms of negative activity is the activity of the mind, or a state of mind which is called wrong views, or in Tibetan it's even opposite views that really deny or completely distrust in the causality of one's activity, mental, verbal, and physical, like it has no consequence, or I do something bad, or I think something very negative, but the result is good. So we have this very wrong view, completely wrong. We all have it. And the antidote is to request for the teachings. And I think I inverted the two, but you got the idea. And the last one is the fact that because of this negative mental activity, we don't believe in the goodness that we do. And not only we don't exert, but we don't believe in it's that good. And the antidote to this sort of doubt is to dedicate our goodness to others, the dedication branch, seventh branch.
Tene da yela demba de da samlo tangne tene sarchik dengo do.
So this is really something to reflect upon and contemplate. So we'll do that as we read and recite slowly once in Tibetan.
Shena waye daye nyewaye sejena nyeraye daye jama bhabe solala chai tsaraye chembir migele namja jesu yera chejengor Nyange meda ta paraisho sande geve zawa chancho chembor jikela.
In English, to Amitabha, the Buddhas, their offsprings, and the noble Shravakas and Pratika Buddhas, I prostrate, make offerings, and confess negative acts. I rejoice in virtues. I request you to turn the wheel of Dharma, not to pass into Nirvana, and to remain constantly in this world. I dedicate all the roots of virtue to enlightenment.
Da disumdi dene jorwa sedi nyamlen kar jene disumdi ngondo togo go yarda kechimbores dene da shiba tene gegla torma ta diligido di nyamlen takbar la mena digore di samsam group je cheju da sokra pidi tangna digore di gegi torma di gain sedi nganso changchup doye la parchi mangbo yorba tene du mangbo yongbo yor parchi jengin disola tene torma dene jimba tangne tene nganso nyamlen jengala parchi majeru na manzo yese defa madene taringbo pebro na sene torma ngogo yore dirang reta de gek toro sigartela.
With these three practices we have mentioned and done and been through, the refuge, the development of the mind of enlightenment, and the 7-branch prayer, we have performed what is a preliminary preparation of the meat, the core of the practice. So every practice has that entry point and preparation stage, step, the refuge, the bodhicitta, and the 7-branch prayer. And so we concluded this preparation. Now so these three have to be done. We cannot engage in any formal practice without ensuring that this foundation is there. And then there is something, it's written at the end of page 3, it's written sprinkle the Demonstroma with water. So actually this section, which is just a few lines, is called the Demonstroma. And this is not necessary, it's not, you can do without it. We do it when we are a big gathering of practitioners in a special setting. Then we consider that there may be some hindrance in the place where we are, some bad spirits, bad energies, obstacles, demons, and we want to get rid of them. So we have a practice to tell them, please don't interfere with my practice, don't harm me, and don't harm the other practitioners here in this place. Let us do the practice, the actual now tantric practice. So for that, along with this, getting rid of these demons, we perform an offering of a toma, which is sort of cake. We give them something, we give them as a money to pay for them going away. So there's an exchange, please take this, and go away. But this is not compulsory, it's really optional, and it's not necessary when we are on our own.
Tsigla maten trodo nangne che sedita tsigdi gogurede dene tsig gechimbodo maimba denda di samlatang di ta yangdo lagidwa tsigdila ngane gare wangjen dende samlatang di dene denda di lebi yamarwa denja tsig gogure manso nonchu mayala inayang tsigdi ngoma marwa samlatang diri ngoma di gechimbodo.
So we're going to go together through that, but again, very important to keep in mind that practice is practice within one's mind, is bringing an experience and harnessing the spiritual experience we already have and implementing and developing it. So it's a mental process. We have to think and go through a development and transformation of the mind. And the words are just sort of guidelines or reminder. It's a support, it's like a prop, but it's not the actual thing. So we should not be bothered by the words or whatever they say, if it's complicated or not. That's very important. The main thing is not the words, is the mind. And the words are just here to help.
In the Nyambo, page 3A, page 3A.
So let's do it together, page 3A.
Shengane waije heroga dengelode jombezo deyendorma dicherela janzebada chirdengshi odira dibuchito worda.
Now, play the bell. After that, we play the bell.
Tila dina ngak changak di charangsi inji kela dridu drimindo ngak om sumbani hongom diane.
And here, a second line, page 3A, it's written in italic. Recite the powerful mantra. So it's time, as we play the bell, we recite this mantra, which is a forceful mantra. And it seems it's not included in the text. I don't know if you have it in your English version, but if it's not there anyway, you can add it, or you can not necessarily write it, but it needs to be recited here, as it says, recite the powerful mantra.
Do?
You don't have it? Do you have it?
Okay. In
the future, we will do in the next version of the text, we will add it, but it's a common mantra you probably already know.
Tene da gela tormande pitsare tene da chamche sedi geg disu dosade tene manso nyamlenje sa chingor deso changma so boyor tere da
So this being done, so we got rid of these obstacle troublemakers, let's say. And now the next step is called, I will written, the circle of protection. So it's at the beginning of the second line. The italic ends saying the circle of protection. So this refers to the next stage now, where we sort of build a circle around the space that we have sort of cleared of hindrance, cleared of any obstacles, and we protect that space now after cleaning it.
Tene gig di yang cher mayong yarba security chendene ko dire da security ko dise ya o jen dise dire.
It's the security sort of protecting the space now that it's cleared, so that there is no hindrance coming back. So we secure the entrance or the space where we are practicing.
Da nyambo.
Let's do it together.
She son be ma ye ro ke ye she chen be ro ba le lo de ge je me ya me kor de ye je chen be lo Angela dibu dang damaru ina to gore.
If you have a bell and a vajra, you hold the vajra and you play the bell. As you say, and for a few seconds, for a while after that.
Dene da
You can mark it on your text.
Da jinbeb sedi ngarang so chue nyamlen jingin so la dene jinlap dene omi ne sanje yoba me la sopo ge deshi jawa semba sanje da janju semba tamji ge ngan so la kusung tu ki jinlap re jinbeb sedi re da la jinpo wangchu kors ngan so nyamlen jiya la da ngan so ge ngan so subu di tsangma ji da ngan so la dene da jinlap wang long ti desirwa dāla jinpuk wāngchū kōr omāmi dōrā bīchā sādī tēne jinlap tamze rāngā dīrē dādi cīdī.
The next stage, a step, is called the shower of blessing. So we invoke and we bring down a shower of blessing. So we invoke it and bring it down from the peerless, as it says, from the peerless palace of great bliss. And we request Amitabha and all the protectors, all the Buddhas, the assembly of the Sugatas and the victorious Bodhisattvas to shower upon us or shower us with their blessing and bestow their power and their initiation upon us. So it's like now that we are in a cleared and protected space, we want ourselves to be cleansed and to be ready. So we request this blessing upon us so that we are fresh, pure, as we embark on the practice. So we didn't do these things which are optional. We didn't do in English. Let's do them in English. So we go back to page 3A, second line. And we read after Shri. In the three worlds of Pema Heruka, as a result of the play of great wisdom, not even the names demon or harmful spirit exist. It starts before. First line. Shri, I am the great powerful Heruka. Assembly of demons, negative beings, harmful spirits. Take this Dharma, which pleases the senses, and go to the other side of the ocean. And it goes on, Shri. In the three worlds of Pema Heruka, as a result of the play of great wisdom, not even the names demon or harmful spirit exist. Samsara, Nirvana, wisdom's great expanse. And let's do the shower of blessing together in Tibetan.
Deshe Ayenjawa Azembe Tsoyandala Jimbo Wangchukur Omani Dewari Abishaya. Jinbib disu sarne tene tamadi chuzi jinabre da choba disu manzo choba ngusu shamsha jo argamba dan pipi tibi alugi kende de shapta yorba tene choba disu tene ramyam khamgi tene choba disu tene tongba jone tene tongbe ngane tene ngunzi namto tongba jo tongyi ingli rikpetsa 신앙 싸움을 치비려서 어다 단다 쳐봐 mikten디 라면 가오마 홍기 짱마 손에 되네 쳐봐 삼지 미쳐봐다 삼 땅도 남가 가마 치 쳐봐 아가마다 비비다는 난기 쳐봐 되네 상외 쳐봐 세기도 다치 쳐봐 아가 난기 쳐봐 배나서 다디로레 강달 쳐봐 망부지레 상외 쳐봐 되네 탑당 셔람 메라 tormakhanda deso gangdar semgi zambuling tongba dila tene chinang seba chinang sawa gi chobagi gango gorwa be tene chida gangne tene tadik ji gorwa choba pyo tendala tene dila gecho de ram yam khamdwa ram merwa yam lungwa kham churwa tene megi garchi gore tene megi meradana tsangma sogoyo ro tene yam lungi megi tsiksha dit pa yamal tsangma sogoyo ro kamgi chugi dene tsangma so kanda ramyam kamgi tsangma di gar sogore sedi ninzinge namdo manzogi ninzinge namdo nga se ngagi body se de ninzin rwa ngagi moda se de ninzin rwa ngagi family se ninziraba tene di ninzinge namdo tamje ramyam kamgi meba tangne tene tongbani ngani chinang sawa choba deso rangi semgi trune tene igi trune tadik jiga danda pigyo marta tadik jiga tere.
The next step is called blessing of the offering substances. Substances here is just a generic for things, offering things. So they may be objects, they may be all sorts of things. So it's substances. And it starts with Ram, Yam, Kam, 3 syllables from the Sanskrit. And then it says, attachment to reality and concepts are purified by emptiness. From the ultimate sphere of emptiness and the dynamism of awareness come clouds of exterior, interior, and secret offerings, immaculate space treasure. What this is about is that later in the ritual, when we visualize and we'll develop the presence of enlightenment within ourselves, around ourselves, we will communicate with enlightenment through offerings. And this is the preparation of the offering. So they are consecrated, they are blessed. But it's not the time when we present the offering, it's the time when we prepare the offerings. So for that, we arrange on the table, ideally a beautiful altar. We arrange offerings, traditional offerings and ritual offerings, like water, flowers, lights, incense, and so on. There are many different kinds of offerings, but whatever we put on the altar or on the table, nice, clean, and beautiful, this is just a support or an entry door to an immense offering that fills the entire space, which is something we do with our mind. Physically, we have some props, and using these props, we work with our mind and we fill the space with offerings. And as it says, exterior, interior, and secret offerings and even ultimate offerings. So it means external things like water, light, flowers. So we fill the space with these external offerings. And then there are the inner offerings or interior offerings, which is the perceptions we have of whatever sound, shapes, forms, tastes, and so on, touch sensation, sight sensation, through the ears, the sound sensations, all that. So this is the inner offering, and then the secret offering is the coming together of the wisdom and the skillful means. Sometimes we call it men and rakta, that's esoteric words, but it's the coming together of the two energies, male and female energies, the wisdom and the compassion. And there is this ultimate immaculate space treasure, which is filling the space with all sorts of offerings. And it starts with Ram, Yam, Kam. These are seed syllables. Each of these syllables give birth or provokes the one element. With Ram or Ram, the element fire burns everything. So in our perception of offerings, which starts from what we have put on the altar as an offering to Amitabha and all the Buddhas, this is completely burned by the energy of the fire. And burning here is the most powerful purification, purification through fire, the most powerful purification process. So Ram is purification process through fire. And then Yam is the wind. So after everything is burned, there are some remains, ashes, whatever, and this is flushed, this is wiped or carried away by enormous wind energy, flow of wind and air. And then Kam is the water. A syllable for water, so it's a flushing of whatever traces that may remain, traces of impurities, so that we have very, very pure offerings. And what is the impurity we are purifying and getting rid of? It's the dualistic mind, the mind that says me, and this is dualistic because there's me and there's others, and my body, this is dualistic, or my thing, my car, this is dual. The moment there is mine, then there is others, and my family, my friends, my whatever. So this is completely spoiling and making all our offerings dirty. So we remove that through this process of Ram, Yam, Kam, of great energetic elements, processes, and then attachment, as it says, attachment to reality and concepts are purified by emptiness. So this is our own mental contemplation. We purify everything, our concepts, and grasping to reality. The attachment to reality means the dualistic. When we grasp phenomena, experience, we grasp them and they become dualistic. So all this is purified through our contemplation of emptiness. And from that contemplation, from the ultimate sphere of emptiness and the dynamism, the energy of the mind, which is still there, then there are clouds of these external, inner, and secret offerings. Immaculate space treasure. Space treasure means as a treasure that fills the space.
Kantar cheba pyo di la ni doa ngusu shambe cheba sade ngone tangne diksha chederwa ta yi ji tulbe cheba sengde tingin zingirwa di yi ki tulbe cheba di tingin zin shine de so yabo yona mato kale ka porwa ine nganzu samlo tangorwa 말아봐. 이지트비 쳐봐대. 무슨 선배 쳐봐도 가야 말아봐. 이지트비 쳐봐대 빼나 잠불링. 뇌기 직된 잠불링 탐제 되네 삼로다. 뇌기 직된 잠불링 딜라 주기 셈젠 간데시요래. 디저 탐제 삼로다. 되네 셈젠 빼나 미당 하다 보이나 되네 벤줄 망보여봐. 디저 삼도다. 대양 닭도 송아 닭보용은 닭도 마송아 리당 초당 된데 같아요. 디저 참마 셈기 손에 되는 잠불링 참마 되네 야 집에 유라 피고 거야. 데려와서 뭐대 뭐마 배나 간저 페리스키 동시 침보 나라 라니 여와 있나 페리스키 동시 나라 강바다 모타다 되네 부다 보모다 주노 롱제 가서 네 이지 뜨네 되네 제법 야라 군주섬나 제법 피고여라 상직의 숨도 선음 사이를 내려버려 숨어여라 제수이는 이지 뜨네 되네 가연 제투를 서저 내려와 인지민지 선음 사이를 제법 표현라 주자라 망부지 거고 말해 셈들와 어데네 제는 삼노탄다 제법 표현 다득되지도
So, for now, we are just preparing. We are filling the space with offering, but we are not yet performing the actual gesture of offering to the Buddha. But we set the offering, the stage of offering, which is a space, the entire space filled with all kinds of offerings which are immaculate, which are purified from, as it says here, attachment to reality and grasping in concepts. So we abide in this state of emptiness where yet the energy of the mind manifests in the form of a space filled with the offerings. And this is a general process we always resort to in our esoteric practices. Whenever we talk of offerings, there is something material that we put on the altar. Some offering is there, and this is what we call the actual material physical offering. And we use this as a basis. It's the support or the prop, as I said. I don't know if it's a helpful term. You will tell me, please, at the end. So that we can have the confidence that we have offerings to provide, but then we can, with our own mind and imagination, we can expand it limitlessly, what we call the space treasure, so that it fills the space. And when we do that, we can use also, with the power of our imagination and mental capacity, we can think of much more than what we have provided, that we beautify and multiply. We can think of the entire world, the universe. The universe is made, according to our traditional Buddhist Tibetan approach to offering and to the world. We distinguish the material world, which is made of the minerals and the vegetables, which is called the container. And within this container, there are sentient beings who have a mind, a samsaric mind that goes from life to life. So these are called the contained, what is in the container. And all this world, the physical world, and that's the entire cosmos, and all the sentient beings in this world, there we can also include them in our practice, and in particular include what they create that is valuable. That human beings create a lot of value, and gods, the devas in the samsara, they also have very beautiful possessions, and all these very valuable, precious, magnificent things that are available in the world. With our mind, we also include them in our offering. So we can include in an offering things that have an owner, someone owns them, like the beautiful things that the gods have, or I don't know, in the world, the kings or the queens, I think that's a little bit a subject. The royalty or whoever, the most beautiful manifestation, with our mind, we are very happy this is there because it's beautiful, and then we offer it. We can offer it, we include it. And we also include common, I don't know how you call that, but common properties that are owned collectively or that have no owner, like mountains, landscapes, rivers, oceans, stars, and so on. Cannot be claimed by any god or human beings, but we include everything, whether it has an owner, we still offer it, and it has no owner, we offer it. And we can make this very practical by thinking of the place we are in, like if we are in a big city, London or Paris, and around us there are so many things. There are buildings and there are people, and in the streets and in the next building, many people, many beautiful furnitures, cars, wealth, buildings, people, children, adults, all of this, all of what of that is available in the world, is we include it in our offering. So this is called the offering that we imagine. We sort of emanate. It says emanate because we feel the space with these offerings. And here the point is that we don't need, as a practitioner, in order to accumulate merit and to really go through this very important practice of offering, which we have a word here at the fourth page, the last line, you have Sarva Puja Alalaho. Here we have the word puja, which means offering, and it's the Sanskrit word which for sure you know, the word puja or puja. Tibetans pronounce it puja. So offering is very important. Puja is very important. It's like sometimes the meat of the practice, but you don't need to have, carry lots of material offerings to be able to perform the puja, because this is spiritual practice, and with our mind we can take all the beauties of the world and offer them. So that's the key thing. Just rejoice and appreciate the beautiful things available in the world and offer them.
Teneda Nyamlendis Sama Semgi Tengi Lela Baraba. Sanjegi Shudi Karasana Semla Lehajan and Jurata and the Shu 6 euro. Tenepena Pechanala Sanjegi Shunam Tamji Chenin de Dumbetsela Laptones. Chirdang Judang Temdrichila Yongore Tamche Inayang Rangi Semdi Sochorabas Semgi Tene Danda Chinanso Chavadis Samlo Tane Tene Semgi Ya Pune Te Semgi Chinama Shendis Semla Sem Tell of this same control Sadirita Semde.
So really, it's actually very simple to perform pujas in the Buddhist tradition in this context, because it's a spiritual practice. It's the spirit, it's the mind. So with our mind, whatever our mind thinks and whatever intent we have within our mind, intent and exertion of the mind is the practice. That's the Dharma. The Dharma is what the mind does. So in terms of offering, we talk of external and inner offerings and so on. And also generally speaking, we talk about the cause and the material and the conditions, and then the coincidence and the co-emergent, the co-production and all that. But we can make it simple. It's all about the mind. So mind is the key. Mind is the more important than anything, the cause, the conditions, and the co-production. the mind is the performer, the mind is the creator of our offering. And when we come to the actual puja, where we offer, so the mind should be in a double movement of sending up the offering, the beauties of the world, the beauties of our life, the beauty of whatever we own and what is owned and what is not owned. So it's an ascendant movement, and there will be the return, descendant movement, bringing back down the blessing that helps us transform our mind. So that's a general explanation about what offering is about and how to do it. So let's do it together from Ramyam.
Ramyam Gam Namdo Tambarai Toni Ile Rik Beazal Chena Sawa Achebente Zamenamke Zendo Jurzarwa Bonza Sama Chaneda Yamlin Goma de la Libgiarva, Yamling Goma de la Kandasivore, Sidi, Tagtun Damsic Harchepas, Tene Yamlin Jinging Arang Rangi, Tene Chere Silapa Jurgorva, Tene Rangi Zavela Madi Sanja Yoba Meganabaji, Dunganakar, Siltapurva, Tagtun Jene Yamlin Jegudwa, Ta Dilabdi. Pechananga ri kurdi nyamnyi ne trabartal sedi teneda rani yidam chene segi chirim gom go yare tene kurdi nyamnyi ne trabartal sedi semnala korware nyangele debare tene diso kaya samlo matane trabatam je dalne stral sedi tene tongmani ngala segarwa tongmani ngala rangi kaya 인생의 남도 매번 동반이 ngala te tongba tongjane mai ba magak ba rangdang tene natural tene rangsinge wesawa ningji di tene gogerwa tembadi gogarda tongba re de tene ngansogi simge rangsin wesawa tembadi goger designing bude tene songju erma pema dawete te tabu soso rangrikpe ishi digi tene chenese ku talame tene sogo goraba tene nganso yigi lyure tene rangrikpe ishi gi lyure tene chenese tela shi dang mangbu dute kangtar rangi chenese ngusumdo yin samne dakche chenese komeateres.
And so now everything is set for the core practice where enlightenment is there and we manifest as enlightenment. So that is called the generation. It's written in italic, page 4, third line, in the middle of the third line. Generation of the Damsic deities, yourself, and those before you. So it's oneself. We are going to here deities means divine in the sense of enlightened ones. So we manifest as enlightened, and in front of oneself we manifest, we visualize enlightenment. So we generate and we cultivate this presence of enlightenment. And as it says, it starts with she, and she, because we're going to go through a process of transformation. It's a self-transformation and transformation of our concept of what is in front of ourselves or other than oneself. So here it's called oneself transformation, and in front of oneself transformation. Oneself is going to manifest as Chenrezi, Avalokiteshvara, and in front of oneself, Amitabha, infinite light. So how we do that is we start from Shri, the equality of samsara and nirvana devoid of concept since beginningless time. Means that we go back to our own primordial awareness, where there is, since beginningless time, there is no concept. It's a state of non-duality, so there is the equality of samsara and nirvana. And when it says devoid of concept, it means especially no apprehension of the world in a dualistic way. So you may call it emptiness. When there is no grasping, no fabrication, it's emptiness. But this sort of primordial state of emptiness is not a blank state, a blackout. We're not going to faint. There is still the natural mind that is there, unobstructed natural radiance. It means there is a clarity, there is knowing that is there, an awareness that is there, unobstructed. It's not stopped. It's never stopped. It's always ongoing, unobstructed. And this state of primordial consciousness, primordial awareness, radiating clarity, a clear clarity state of the mind, this now will take a form, and it will take the form of Chenrezi. So we generate this manifestation of enlightenment as Avalokiteshvara, Chenrezi. Chenrezi is the Tibetan and Avalokiteshvara is the Sanskrit. We consider we are Chenrezi, I am Avalokiteshvara, but this I am Avalokiteshvara is the all-pervading compassion that comes from a state of non-duality and a clarity state, clarity primordial state, now as for this practice taking the form of the all-pervading compassion, which is Avalokiteshvara. And so it continues saying, on the lotus and moon disc, the letter Shri immediately transforms itself into myself. If we write it like that, it sounds a little bit dualistic, but into the great compassionate one, noble Chenrezi. And as we go through this process from non-duality to great compassion, the embodiment of great compassion is Chenrezi. He's not the compassionate one, he is the great compassion. And we have to have this conviction, I am great compassion. Because I come from this all-pervading, undifferentiated great union where there is no duality. I am really, actually Chenrezi.
Tenenda Mone Chena Manzogis Manzo Tikpa Dan Driba Tamje Da Charde Manzo Suji Pungbo Di Tene Sangje Ki Kula Jirndo Yarwa Tiinzang Tene Rani Chenrezi Dagazan Chenrezi Mayimbashi Chenrezi Samlo Tangche Marwa Chenrezi Ngoma Yimbala Yimbar Sheba Direndo Dene Di Da Maongbala Sangche Di Longju Zoku Sambuwa Kaya Direndo Tiinzang Dak Chirims Tene Detabu Tene Rangi Semgi Tanganzo Direda Lam La Sumyor Mebagi Lam Tene Mebachebe Lam Tene Da Lam Dangmo Meba Tsam Chayagi Lamji Tene Lam Niba Di namba jibe lamji, sumba de ngusumji lamji. Tanda ganzo, meba zamri mato, namba zamaya marido. Meba zamji. Rangi suputi chenesi chorsong. Ma chenesi yin sambati meba zamjiri. Tene tesi yarje chimbo duna namba zamji. Tene yarje chimbo duna ngusumdu duna jetu yaro. Tanda meba gilamrida, meba jebe lamsi. Tene meba zamjini rani dakchi chenesi yabo sertab. Ta pechala shi pam ahun karu yuna mene gangtar. Tene semdigi rani chenesi chashiba. Kundo karbo. Tisa samlotana chenesi ngusumdu yin samen tirang redo.
This sense and the state of mind that takes the form of Chenrezig is without any doubt I am Chenrezig, because I start my visualization from the state of contemplation of emptiness, non-duality, which is the purity state of the mind, purity state of phenomena. There's no more duality, I and phenomena, subject and object, good and bad. So in this purity state, there is only Chenrezig, there is only great compassion. So it's not like, oh, I have to tell myself I am Chenrezig, and I have to convince myself that I am actually Chenrezig, I'm really Chenrezig. It's naturally there, because I contemplate, I rest in this primordial awareness. I go back to this primordial state of an obstructed natural radiance state of the mind. So this is all pervading compassion, and this is Chenrezig. So this makes it obvious I am Chenrezig, and because when there is no negativity and no obscuration, what is left is the enlightenment state, enlightenment body. So my body is the body of Avalokiteshvara. And then we can really read the details of the text, second line, page 4a, where we can also just rest and think of Chenrezig. And so I am white in color, and I have 4 arms, and so on, and just contemplate and visualize this form, which is described page 4a, second line and third line. And of course, for now, we are not that advanced that we can really experience directly that we are the universal compassion. But we can imagine, we can put ourselves in a state where we are in that state of understanding, that contemplation. So we could say it's just a mental representation. We mentally go into that state of contemplating that there is non-duality, and this non-duality is my nature of Chenrezig, of great compassion. And as we progress, which means when we really reach a very advanced levels of mind development and realization, we will be able to manifest, to experience that we are Chenrezig. And then as we really progress and have actual realization, direct realization, then we are actually visibly, obviously Chenrezig. We can manifest very clearly Chenrezig directly and without having to visualize anything. For now, it's a visualization, but it's a visualization that goes through that process of contemplation of the primordial purity state of our mind and resting in that primordial purity state of the mind, which is radiant, great compassion, all-pervading compassion, as it says.
Dadi nyamlen da ngoma dire da manso Amitabha practice chela da dangbo darchi Chenrezig sertaba de nyambo dengken da dangbo.
So let's do the recitation together. We do this first part, which is the generation. It's called like that technically, generation of oneself as generation. So it starts at the end of page 4, and we'll stop before Amitabha in front of oneself. So last line in Tibetan.
Shri Gode Nyamye Yene Drebanda Maga Randa Nije Gulaja Sunjo Yerme Pema Davede Shri Yonjura Danye Kejege Toje Jembo Pagbai Jerege Kondo Kazarai Dime Dongedo Chaje Chaje Longje Anzo Guje Chaje Damo Tarmo Jarvena Yeje Norbo Gude Kunjona Ome Chaje Shete Bekaradu Nalaya Raja Madru Janzendar Sarve Neyura Namke Kalondo Chedre Deme Kachava Gangwe Evi Onda Tesimutwa Tuji Shimo Papa Chenesi Kutokasri Vomisa Sarve Deyu Namke Kalondo Seda Nala Rashima Dujam Pardon Dila Dinda Ome Jane Shedre Begaradin Nala Raje Madu Jantenda Di Bardu Dakchi De Sarva Dakchi Chene Sede Nala Rashin Madu Jasantar Sigdoa Nangla Rangshin Meba Sede Banangi Jasantabu Melonangi Sungyen Tabu Chunangi Dawa Tabu Tende Chik Tene Nangla Rangshin Matuba Jasan Tabu Uchida Rani Chene Sede Tene Tuya Meba Tene Rangshin Matuba Insa Jasan Tabu Chik Yune Yevala Tuya Meba Chik Banangi Jasan Tabu Te Bardu Dakchir Da Tunji Savi Dun Namke Kalondu Rangi Tende Chene Se Dakchir Tamne Rangi Dungin Nangaya Tosala Namke Kayondu Children de me Kachab Kangayu Mendo Pema Karbo Tama Bundang de Machimbu Chitengdu Dawi Jingur Nyagangwe Tengdu Tene Zawelama Kombo Yubame Sidi Ngo de Rangi Zawelama Zegore Namba de Sanje Yubame Tene Kundo Marsa Pema Ragi Shachi Chani de Sundo Shami Chito Chugo Namsum Changni Nyamsha Bedrig Lungzi Zimbatini Ula Tsotor Shabla Kolo Tsenzambo Sumju Peji Dene Chiseta Ta Rangi Dunga Nanga Sangja Yabame Namba Opame Ngoza Lama Dene Chasang Rangi Samotang Sardi Zowe Tengo Chosam Tamchidu Se Detabu Tunji Sangje Yabame Teng Wok Chok Sam Tam Chedu Sanjeda Janju Semba, Papa Ingedun, Lama Yedam Kando Chujung, Tenet Paktu Meba, Namkala Tingi Pumbo Langsing, Tenejene, Shugue Sambuda, so in Nesum Dorji Sumjung, Oma Honda, Ri Sembale, Wezerbam Shojo Shindo, Sedi, Tene, Dunchigi Zo Sanja Weba Medang, Sene, Sanja Tamjigi, Chiwur Jimbar Ningane, Tene, Kusung Tune, Wazer Trene, Oma Honda Ri Sembale, Wazer Pame Chotu Shingdo Tre Sedi, Tene, Wazer Tre, Tene, Ishi Sembe Sonum Chenang Dur Sedi, Daging Anzo Samlo Tangade Damsic Semba Lapurva, Tene da, Wazer Trone, Ishigi, Musumdu, Chen Zhangju de la, Tene Ishi Semba, One Derita, or the Nechi Sambatama, Cherim la Damsic Semba, the Ishi Semba, so the Nechi.
Yes. So what we have just read and contemplated is generating oneself as Avalokiteshvara. And so, I don't know, Dupana, the Dakidi, also indicated logore, Yes, so let's read what we have just recited in Tibetan. End of page 4. Shri, the equality of samsara and nirvana, devoid of concepts since beginningless time, unobstructed natural radiance, all-pervading compassion, undifferentiated great union. On the lotus and moon cushion, the letter Shri immediately transforms into myself, the great compassionate one, Noble Chenrezig. His body is glowing white like a resplendent conch shell. He has one face, 4 arms, and is clothed with the attributes of the Sambhogakaya. In his first 2 joined hands, he holds a wish-fulfilling jewel, which bestows all needs and desires. The other 2 hold a crystal mala and a white lotus. His appearance is without substance, like a rainbow. So in Tibetan it says, Nanarang Shima Dukjat Santar. And here we can stop for now, because this is all about self-generation and self-visualization as Avalokiteshvara. And as it says, his appearance is without substance like a rainbow. So we visualize ourselves white in color with 4 arms and so on. And we really establish this visualization, but at the same time, we should not make it solid. It says, his appearance is without substance like a rainbow, which means it is appearing, there is an appearance, yet at the same time as it appears, it's not as it appears to be existing. It's like a rainbow, which means there is nothing. There is just a vision, but there is nothing solid, nothing existing. Another example is the reflection in a mirror. When we see our reflection or anything reflected in a mirror, there is actually nothing in the mirror. If there's a landscape or a person reflected, there's nothing. There is just a reflection. It's an appearance. It's a form. There is something that is manifest, but which doesn't exist, which is not there. Another example is the reflection of the moon on the water. When the water, like lake, is very quiet, you can see the full moon very clearly, but there's nothing in the lake. There is no moon, but there is clearly the reflection, very brilliant, very bright, but it's not there. So in the same way, we manifest, the primordial purity state of the mind takes the form of Avalokiteshvara, very clear, very brilliant, very detailed, but this is an appearance that has no substance. The only substance is the primordial purity. It's like a rainbow, there's nothing to grasp. So that's for generating oneself. And then the next part for a while is about the space in front of oneself. So in the space in front of oneself, I'm not reading it in English yet because we have not done it in Tibetan, but it describes, or maybe I'll do it, in the realm of the space, visualized before you. Actually, it's never you, it's always oneself. The realm of space visualized before oneself is filled with clouds of various offerings, permeating space. In the middle is a white lotus with 100,000 opened petals. On it is a full moon disk upon which reside the root guru, one with the protector Amitabha. That means that this is our root guru, the actual root guru that we have, who introduced us to enlightenment, but the form is the form of the Buddha Amitabha, infinite light. So, but this is our guru in this form. So the form is, as it says in the third line, luminous red with a ruby-colored aura, one face, two arms, and two legs in the Vajra posture. His body is beautiful, clothed with 3 robes of the Dharma, monastic robes. His 2 hands, and so on, placed over the other, hold a lapis lazuli bowl. He has a crown protuberance, and on the sole of each foot a Dharma wheel. He is ornamented with the 32 excellent major signs and the 80 minor marks. So that's for Amitabha in front of oneself. And then not only that, but Amitabha is surrounded. Oh, I lost the file. Amitabha is surrounded everywhere, above and below him, and in all the cardinal and intermediate direction, east, west, north, and northwest, northeast, and so on. Everywhere filled with visualized Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, the noble Sangha, Guru, Yidam, Dakinis, and Dharma protectors, an immeasurable entourage, like clouds filling the sky. The entire space is filled with enlightened ones. But then, and that's the next stage, each of them, and in particular the main enlightened one, which is Amitabha, the root guru, has in the 3 places, that means the forehead, the throat, and in the middle of the chest at the heart level. They are in the nature of the 3 Vajra, which means enlightened body, enlightened speech, and enlightened mind. So these 3 places are marked with Om, Ah, Hum, and also Shri. And from these 3 places and these letters radiate countless rays of light to the realms of the 10 directions. And this light go and invite not only what we have visualized, but the actual presence of the wisdom, primordial wisdom, all pervading, and invite it to come to this space which we have built as filled with enlightened beings.
So
let's recite this together in Tibetan from the front one, the front visualization. So it says page 5, first line, second verse.
Salve Dio Namke Kalondo Chedren Dome Kacha Ganwevi Pema Garbo Dama Bumdave Tendo Dave Chinkor Nyagante Save Lama Gombo Yopame Kondo Marzara Bema Rageda Shaje Janye Shamye Chitunjo Chego Namzo Kula De Parlo Chanye Nyamja Mendura Lungzenzen Ula Todora Shabla Goloza Cesar Sonye Peje Ajejote Save Teo Chotsama Damjendo Sanje Janse Pabe Gendunda Lama Yeda Hando Jejonzo Tsokora Bame Kala Tindarasa Save Nezo Doje Zonje Oma Wonda Shia Zembale Ezere Bame Chodo Jendo Eje Zembe Dona Jenda Injikela Aleho Tene da Tene Samlo Sardi Tene Chenden Segdoa Tene Nochu Dechen Pema Kilone, Sorto Ishi Gomo Ebame, Deshi Jawa, Sebanja, Demi Tumshuta, Chen, Matanurani Soro, De Chendene, that Chenden Danda in Lapsa Songa, Jawa Zertune, Ishisamatam Jichendang, the Tsigdir, that Tsigdi Dungo Yara. Dundadi Lapsarda.
So we're not going to recite together because we read it together. This visualization with the light that goes in all directions. Now to invite the actual wisdom entities. So this is what the 4 next verses say. They say, from the expanse of the lotus pure land of great bliss in the west, there's protector Amitabha of discriminating wisdom, but also the Buddhas and their offsprings, all of them with intensely fervent faith and aspiration. I invite you, come quickly, without delay. So this is what we have mentioned just before when we said there is light that radiates from the 3 places, the Om, the A, and the Hung. And you can visualize also at the level of the heart, the Shi. And from this light goes and invites. So now we are going to do that, the actual invitation, the words we say when we invite. So page 6, all together in Tibetan.
Deshenjawa sedajaba namaye deme dojo drabe Matoy nyurwa nido jezo Matoy nyurwa nido shezo zol oma mindewa rembedo samayandaga abishaya Onda drin dila shagoda tene yan diwa dilinda bute se tene dewa chengmalam jitik tungis.
Okay, now that we have performed a great length of the actual ritual with the visualization, all the preparation and the visualization, we can leave it at that for today because we're approaching the end of this session. We have about 15-20 minutes. I would like to open the floor and allow you to ask any question that you would like. We'll try to answer. And also, as a conclusion, that we make a short prayer to be reborn in the Wachen. So it will continue for tomorrow. And now the floor is open. So please, because we are not so many, we're just 25 people, I think, or about 25 people. So you just turn on your microphone, your camera, and ask, and you'll be answered, hopefully. Tessa, are you lifting your hand? Yes, Tessa, yes. Unmute your microphone.
Thank you, Annie Jinpa, for your translation. I'm just, I wasn't even going to mention it, but I will, as you've directed your questioning at me. Common property, that expression you use when you were talking about doing the offerings, visualizations, and you were talking about common property can be offered, like mountains, things like that. But does that mean that, in what context did you use the word common? Does that mean that something that belongs to somebody else can't be offered, or what? I don't quite get that.
Okay. Sorry, maybe also my English is sometimes a little bit tricky, but I'll ask anyway. Yeah, for sure. I was looking for a legal term in French, which has a meaning in terms of property in the French law, but I'm not sure. I'm going to check the translation. But anyway, this question of do we offer things that we don't own is a very good question. Semgi chubik chupanang la kashi Daktu Zung dan Tinikashi Daktu Zung Meba Yang Puguri Kandri so Dakpo men Nayang E Purun Duna Digiri Bedi Diwaji.
Oh, dignity, but you are Yakudo. Chobala, Doctor Sumo Chabadi, Sosugi, Junior Longje, Kamba, Mota, Kemin Pugu Chogade, Doctor Sora. Tene, Dagi Lidon Longje Tamjano Sego. Tene Shen, Tene, Kadanian Bedoa Maliba Sedoa. Tene, Doari Duk Semjen, Bena Lada, Mida. Tene, Doctor Mazon, Labdi, Ri, Kangri, Pak, So, River, Dene Semjen Mangboyro, Tisu Semgi Tune, Doctor Songa, the Mazonga, Niga, Rangi Semgi Logi Tune, they conjusum la Pigu, Sadirande, the Semgi, the Matsam Jira Semgi Chetakrabat.
Maybe Shendaki Dakuina and the
Shendagi Kamba in a digger, Jesu Yeranjana, Pina digger, in Lapsoma, Periski Tongcher Sama, Rangitene, Semgi Tune, Pina digger, Sinti.
Okay.
Tene Doctor Songa, Madua said, Doctor Songa, Rangirava, Shen Doctor Songa, Peris Tongcher, Doctor Mazuma de Tene, Rangi Maimba, Chalamango Yaradan, natural. So, read them, this is Sinda.
So, yeah, we offer whatever we have that we are the owner of, or we have some kinds of ownership. So, our own body, our own possessions, our house, our car, our furnitures, jewels, jewelry, and art, and whatever we have, including our children, our parents, our spouse, everything we have some sort of, this is mine. This we offer. And first off, Dubna said, very good question. And so we offer what we have, and then next is we offer what we don't have. So what others, other people or human beings or
London
divine beings own,
Paris
we mentally
London we Paris Lapsoma.
We
London
lesson. We first off we rejoice. Oh, they own this. You know, the queen or the king has a beautiful castle. I'm happy. This is beautiful. How happy they are. I offer it mentally, because it's through rejoicing that this exists. So it creates a connection with this possession, and I offer it. I take mentally. And then there are, so this is what Dupana said when he said, you know, you are in a town and you're in London, maybe he said Paris, but we are like, okay, you're in London, let's imagine. And around you, there are many buildings you don't own, many people you have no connection whatsoever, furnitures, arts, jewelry, whatever. Mentally, we rejoice, oh, there are so many beauties in the world, in this place around us, in London itself. And then we can go to the Diva's realm, and everything through our rejoicing and appreciation, and then we offer it. So these things have an owner. And then there are the things which I don't know how I call them, but you note it down, thank you for that. And I just checked. This is what we call the commons. Commons, it's a legal term which refers sometimes to forests, lakes, mountains. There is a sort of owner, but it's not private individual, it's collective ownership. And this also we offer. So in Tibet, they say it has no honor. The mountains, the lakes, the rivers, and we offer them. So we just offer everything through mentally, yeah, and including things we don't own, indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So it can be related to what has been said this afternoon or this morning, or something related to whatever in your life, spiritual life. Yes, Michael, you're welcome since nobody else is daring.
I would like to know when should we fold hands, and when should we leave them, let them rest on the knees.
Okay. Okay, throughout the ritual?
Not just the ritual, but like in general. I don't really know when I should fold hands and then when I should just let them be.
Yeah, thank you very much for asking. Jupana chetang li jup tiki kola mase chetang ansu kadu la pajel gori kadu nganzo la pa majarne shani chogiri di selpo hako gimindu segidu.
Oh, di labo sangi ne labo nge labo chabdo kabla tendere semje kabla ten sodip tendele na tendere di me labo tene to chaba sangi dibu kaba toki disu to chaba sangi yang yungro inju chabdo rang chabdo only chabdo kabla tendere tene sodip chaba chena tendere
so tene juptap ki mase jupana chetang anso te pena baby lusel hakala intiminchik la bajar gori ki chuba karina tene kakala chogi majena chogi
jegi mare tapar jegi mare da anso gomba desala kolon je goyachi je then always tendres raba teno so dondor khashi tapar jegi do ati kale khabore ba di mare ko je goana je jimo la ko ma shana yakshore la ko pimo gala shana sembal hobe degrwa di lamin sondep dendela chapter dendel je ko shen je go mares.
So Drupala tomorrow will provide for this ritual the details when we do what with our hands, when we play the bear, when we play the damaru, when we fold hands, and also. But generally speaking, like when we are in a religious setting, Buddhist setting, there are times when we must fold hands because it's really meaningful. It's exactly what is appropriate, is when we take refuge and when we pray. Pray in English refers to different types of things, including aspiration prayer. And this is not the prayer we're talking here about. We're talking about praying, requesting something to the Buddha, to the Guru. In the Guru Yoga, when we pray to the Guru, we really have a specific address in our prayer. So it's not just a wish, it's a request. So for this requesting prayers or supplication, when we supplicate, we fold hands. When we take refuge, we fold hands. Any other time, in general, speaking in general, there's no need to fold hands. And if people, they think, oh, actually, so it's better to rest. Well, if you want to join hands, why not? But it's better to just rest, except when you take refuge and when you supplicate, when we supplicate. And then tomorrow we'll go into the details for this ritual.
Natasha,
you have a question?
Yes, thank you so much, Drupala. I love the way you're teaching these days, explaining for people like me who don't know anything. And I liked also the way you're explaining about the different aspects, that these deities are different aspects of the same thing. Could you explain in this context a little bit more about Vajradhara? I never have a sort of feeling of Vajradhara, what it represents and how, don't know, could you say a bit more about Vajradhara?
Okay, thank you, Natasha. Dampu morangi kirang la tuji shi shugidu kainisana den san kirangi chu serpo du sama serpo haku gidu segidu sangie gitenda nan sama serpo haku gidu jigba du ha serpo haku mason segidu den san kirangi chu pe serpo du segidu tujina ini serpo yin sang morang jigwa chi yores doji chang carrere di cames di serpo hakomason di mixel sangue dans daji chang di carrere di serpo yang jiwa serpo jitu mason sa.
Okay, na chirtang anzo sanje se gyarwa. Buddha Tene sanga ki lugla Buddha di namba dorji chang jirware, chikpare. Okay? Manso sutra kabla Buddha korang pomyarwa. Sanga ki nyamlin jebe kabla Buddha di dorji changi namba jirware. Buddha shakcha munegi sanga ki chö nangdi supu di sambuwa dorji changma pa jurne, sambuwa kaya la jurne, tene chö nangayarwa. Di da sanga ki lukre, dorji. Ta dorji sena dorji dirangwa. Dorji. Tene dorji dan tribu di do chang se di, tene dorji tribu dende namduwa, de dorji chang dirwa. Tene di la da denda chenpo yarwa. Di la tene korde tamji dinangla yarwa. Korwa dang, nyangeli deba, ta sangma di tabdang, sherab sangma da di pe tsa chenpo tsegi do, ngone chena. Tene sung dengin di kare si dorji chang se di, tene sangje tamji chikdu dubege rangsu re da di. Sangje tamji chikdu dudi dorji chang se chik, tene char yongora di re da. Di inju da sangje tamji chikdu du sha cho, tene di lan dorji chang se. Inju da Buddha se na dorji chang se na chikparawa. Sanga kabla dorji chang la gare. Tene sutra kabla sanje tenpa shugurwa. Tene da rangi tsawa lama de sanje ngoy re sidi tene tsawa lama dorji changi namba gom kodwa derang re. Da dorji si ming sen toya dene dorji derang re. Dorji di chala namdwa. Dorji di la jawa ringa tene ya nyangale deba mala tene korwa sene tene dirwa korwa da nyangeli deba nika dene chiktu da kordini sanje se kayame gandar da chugu dharma kaya se chirwa dene chugu dorji changchen segidwa dene dende chi injure da di deshi lelabuchi mareba za chimburido.
Oh, this is a very vast subject and very profound. So, generally speaking, when we say Vajra, Dara, Vajra is the Vajra, so it's represented as the implement, the Vajra, and Dara means holder. So it's the holder of the Vajra. That's a sort of generic term that refers to enlightenment. And we used it in the Vajrayana, the vehicle of the Vajra, when we refer to the Buddha, because the Buddha Shakyamuni, the historical Buddha, so he was a human being, and he was teaching, he's our teacher. But it is said, when he taught the Vajrayana, he didn't teach as a human monk. He taught as a Vajra holder. Here, maybe I add what His Holiness would say. Vajra stands for the ultimate indestructible realization. But Rupana was showing the implement, but the implement stands for that enlightenment. So, in the Vajrayana, we consider Buddha Shakyamuni in the form of Vajradhara. So it means the Buddha. It means the enlightened one. And then the Vajra itself, when I was explaining, Vajra has many, so rich and so vast. Like the shape itself, it has five branched shape with an up and a down. So this represents everything, all the samsara, all the nirvana, the 5 families and the 5 main poisons, and everything is there. Everything is within the Vajra. So holder of the Vajra, is enlightenment, Rupana said, and once we have found an enlightened master, so enlightened master stands for enlightenment. So therefore, we call the Buddha, the Guru, Vajradhara. The Guru is our Vajradhara, and we visualize the Guru as Vajradhara. So there would be many things to say. Also, the the Vajradhara, the holding of the Vajra, because the Vajradhara holds belts and Vajra and holds them this way. It also stands for the coming together and the unifying of all the aspects of enlightenment. So it's the universal enlightenment. It's the Buddha. All the Buddhas come in the form of Vajradhara. It unites all the phases and forms of enlightenment. And sometimes, therefore, we say it's also Dhammakaya. We say Dhammakaya Vajradhara. So it's a vast subject also because depending on the context, we may use this term Vajradhara to express different things, but the idea is holder of the Vajra, the Buddha, enlightenment.
Thank you.
Teneda dusu chardo. Tene shulu chungni ala dewa chen la kega melam jab gore songa doa dagi ju shinang na ju chik di melam nin len sum chen len sum se doa tida duba di ema ho ngasar sangjere di char sum den go do.
And now we cannot leave before we recite and we pray to be reborn in Dewachen, as we said this morning. That's one of the key conditions to reach to this blissful field, is to pray formally and we aspire to develop this inspiration. So we have it in the Amitabha text, page 12a, second line. So we're going to do that. You're invited to do that with us.
Sarni inji Tibetan sarchik inji kela inda.
Okay, we'll do it twice, once in Tibetan and once in English language.
Two Tibetan.
Oh, two Tibetan and then one in English.
Thanks.
Once in English. Wonderful, the wonderful Buddha, infinite light, Amitabha. To his right, the Lord, great compassion, Chenrezig. To his left, the Bodhisattva, great power, Vajrapani, are surrounded by countless Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. A marvelous and immeasurable happiness prevails in this pure land called the Blissful One, Dewachen. As soon as we come to leave this life, without taking rebirth anywhere else, may we be reborn there and gaze upon the face of infinite light. The aspiration we have thus expressed, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions. Oh, it's missing. But please bless us so that the aspiration is fulfilled.
Okay, deneda dagi kogi tsawela magi shaptin dindi lakwa dende chego resi wala kogi diwati.
Now we will do a prayer for the long life of the root guru, and also it's appropriate as we request and pray for the root guru to live long, to fold hands also because we pronounce the proper name of the guru.
Omso de je bonge jime doro je de ninje de be ma ka be chara jo ro ba je shab son da de shen de le de je bonge Jime doro jinde inje derede be mai ga chara wanjo rumba je je shabson da de shende le doja de bonge jime doro jinde inje derede be mai ga chera wanjo ruba je je shabson da de shende Lundojo de Shedeme Demba Choke so Nyebe Ruda do Tintingi Shidu Chashin Yishin Number Yambe Jekam Damje Gonjoje Domsum Nime Vedam Dado Tesam Gumbe Dizan Zimbeje Denjembe Monso Oche Yambe Jekam Damje Gonjoje Yedam Gode Chulo Number Pendant deve rinche jevene, chokor sarba sarbe ben, yangbe jagam damje gangjurje, rabkar dunje rube rumloje, cheve dabe jide sundoja, chabdan duve gumbob, ringlo se basam doje joroje, temba jide kamsoje ba, temba nyewe shendo sarvada, tenzin bulo darshin jem, Temba yere ne bedra shejo. Laso tene diring maranzo chuze kashi ring la tene chugi toling jere de la sonam bagdo meba yore ten charanzo semna la diring yimachik lekhaya bu jeba yin samne kago gore ngara ine pe kabadu tene changma sani shoge je yong chuze chubala Tene 상마 심장난고 세네 데링 니람나가 성제 예밤에 tene jaga tobyake malam jagoye seranzo samala.
So these were dedications and prayers for the fruition of the Dharma and the spreading and the fructification of the Dharma. And with that, we finish these several hours of teaching today, about 4 hours of teachings and contemplating the Dharma. And that's wonderful. That's a very meaningful time we have spent together. And please appreciate this time you have dedicated. This is not wasted. You could have done very much less meaningful activities or pointless activities, and you have really dedicated these several hours to something very meaningful and very positive. So it's a lot of merit. So please rejoice and appreciate. And that's all for today. So we'll meet tomorrow. And meanwhile, there will be the night, and you'll have a dream state. And make sure you keep Amitabha in your mind and perhaps dream of infinite light during the night. You'll tell me tomorrow. And see you tomorrow morning. We'll meet again. Have a good evening.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Bonne nuit. À
Good
demain.
night.
See you tomorrow. Thank you. Good night. Good night. Thank you. Maxi, good night. Maxi. 나서 되네 다 zum gillega de tsar sonata dring rimbatita sani France ki chuzu ba tola dene yang zu kejata shegore dring nyamshu nang changmala dene chamrita shidele shuguyu dene nganzu da popular chiso lamal hangna ne shuguyu ba naso tuje cheta lamal hang dene lama laga dena la lagu sumja tukchu shuguyore la naso tuje che naso dene simja nangro na ta nganzo dela da chuze nga ba sungudo la